Hello, have you ever wanted to make artisan bread? Well, today I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to do so. It'll only take 4 ingredients, they don't require any kneading, and it takes just about 5 minutes of prep time to get all the ingredients together. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to make this bread, one in the style of a baguette and the other one using a Dutch oven. This is a great recipe and method to try if you've never made bread before. Anyone can do it, so let's go ahead and get started. In a large mixing bowl, you will add 3 cups of water, heated between 100 and 110 degrees. You'll then add 1 tablespoon of yeast, 1 to 1.5 tablespoons of kosher salt, and mix that together. In my case, I used active dry yeast, so I knead to proof with some sugar added. If you used instant yeast, you could skip this step. Next up, we're going to add flour, 6.5 cups or 2 pounds. This could be all-purpose bread flour. In this case, I used bread flour. I think it gave a better chew with the additional protein and gluten content in there. Mix that up until all the dry bits are gone and you have a wet pile of dough, and you're going to cover that and let it sit as is for 2 hours. When 2 hours are up, you should have a nice, wet, sticky dough. This dough will have a nice pull to it, you can see. Nice stretch there when I pull it up with my fingers, got some stick to it. No kneading required with this. We're going to stick it in the fridge overnight. You can keep it there up to 3 days. After the time is up and you're ready to work with the dough, just lightly flour your surface and then prepare the dough. For this recipe, I actually have the recipe, so I'm only making 2 loaves out of it today, 1 in each style. But if you made the full amount, you'd be able to get 4 loaves out of it. So in this case, I will be taking the dough, splitting it in half. This first one I'm going to do in the baguette style. To make the baguette, you're simply going to stretch it out into shape. So first I'm stretching out in the width and lengthwise until I get it to about the length and width that I want. I go ahead and fold it hot dog style into the center, pinching along the way. After this, you will flip it over onto the countertop, pinch it against the counter to seal the baguette, and you'll have a very rustic looking piece of bread. Take your dough, put it on a parchment-lined baking sheet to rest for 40 minutes to proof. In an oven preheated to 450 degrees, you'll have a baking sheet and a cast iron pan. These in your oven at least 20 to 30 minutes before baking so they're nice and hot. Our baguette has rested for 40 minutes. You can see a couple air bubbles. You'll add your scores to the top. Very carefully pull out the baking sheet from your oven and then transfer the baguette from the parchment directly onto that baking sheet. At this point, you will also be adding around a half cup to a cup of ice to create steam inside the oven. Steam is the secret ingredient to making a great bakery-style artisan bread at home. The steam provides additional moisture in the oven that helps the yeast in the oven spring period. Bake the bread for 20 to 30 minutes until you have a golden brown or deep brown exterior, and when you tap the bread, it sounds hollow. Let that baguette cool on a wire rack. Do you know how you can tell how good a bread is without tasting it?
Not the smell, not the look, but the sound, the crust. Listen. Symphony of crackle. Only great bread sound this way.
And after it's cooled just enough that you can hold it with your hands, slice it off and enjoy. As is, with some butter, a little bit of mini jam. Next up, method number 2 for the Dutch oven. On a baking sheet, take some cornmeal and lay it out, or in my case, way too much cornmeal. Lightly spread this out throughout the whole baking sheet. Prepare your loaf, gently fold it out, bring the edges to the center, and then roll and pinch it against the countertop to create a ball. Place that ball onto the cornmeal and let it rest for 40 minutes at room temperature. With my oven again preheated to 450 degrees, I've had my Dutch oven resting in there for maybe half an hour to get it up to temperature. Carefully slide your bread loaf from the baking sheet into the Dutch oven. Give it a nice toss and a plop so it lands cornmeal side down. Add on the lid. It will create its own steam to help with the oven spring process. After 20 minutes, we'll remove the Dutch oven lid and then let the crust continue browning in the oven for an additional 10 to 15 minutes. Remove the bread from the oven once it's a nice brown crust, and when it's tapped, it sounds hollow. And this is what happens when you forget to score, but it'll still taste great. And how can I tell a good bread without tasting it? Once again, let this Dutch oven bread rest, just until you're able to hold it with your hands and cut off some nice slices, top with butter, jam, whatever you like. I really enjoy this easy recipe for artisan style bread. I think it works well when you add a little bit of whole wheat flour into there, let it rest in the fridge for an additional day or so, get some nice fermented, almost sourdough flavors. And good luck to you in all your future bread making endeavors. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. This is a different style video for me. I'm really not used to talking to the camera directly. So let me know if you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more content like this, I'd like to try more of it out in the future. Thanks for sticking around this long. See you next time. Wait. It's crunchy. Crunchy? It's crunchy. Two different ways to make this different. Well, I'll go two. Two. What do I want to say? If you haven't had bread, this is a great bread. I highly recommend this bread. You say hi.
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 What's that?
Hi.
What's that?